The East Asian Peace Programme at Uppsala University in Sweden held its fifth annual conference in Singapore the 6th to the 8th of November 2015. The event, hosted by the Asia Research Institute at the National University of Singapore, featured the world-famous Philippine peace negotiator Miriam Coronel Ferrer as keynote speaker.
So what made the peace agreement that we are now implementing possible? How did we get this far in our process despite the huge gap that divided us, the state, and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front?
In 2014, she became the first woman in the world to successfully negotiate a peace agreement between a government and an armed rebel group. And in April 2015, she was given the Hillary Clinton Award for Advancing Women in Peace and Security. Being herself an academic and a research associate of the Uppsala-based program, she told the conference that one of her most important lessons from her own experience as a peace negotiator was the importance of trust.
The kind of trust that has developed between the negotiating parties have been able to sustain the process, to come to a very comprehensive agreement, and also to stick to it in terms of implementing the different components. But trust between the parties is not enough. You also need the rest of the public to trust with you.
The unique peace process between the Philippine government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, MILF, is still fragile. And during the next coming years, with several upcoming elections, the trust might be challenged.
This is a rare opportunity. If we lose this opportunity, maybe it will take several more years to be able to get back to where we are now if things really go bad, and we don't want that to happen.
It was an enormous source of inspiration for us to have an academic like Miriam Coronel Ferrer, who has dedicated several years of her life now to making peace, rather than just researching peace, to give her keynote address. This was the best beginning of the conference that we could have had. She reflected on the peace process in the Philippines on the basis of her knowledge of academic research into peace processes. She could refer to the best works on the subjects, and at the same time she could reflect on her own work. So this was a combination of personal experiences and academic knowledge that was just perfect.
The East Asian Peace Programme aims to answer two questions. First, how come the countries in East Asia stopped waging wars? And second, how deep is the peace? The fifth annual conference focused on the theme regional peace and internal conflict. In a world of turmoil and war, East Asia still remains an exception and a proof that peace can be created and maintained. But how will it last and even deepen? About 50 researchers came from Asia, Europe, Russia and North America, and they contributed with a variety of perspectives.
This is, I think, absolutely important, I think, for scholars from all the regions to come together to study East Asian peace, not just scholars from East Asia, because the different perspective, different theoretical orientations, different background. I think this kind of communication is really important for theory development, for creative innovative thinking in academic theory, and also help channel ideas into policy thinking.
Now, in the early 21st century, we're seeing more tensions that could lead to conflict, that could lead to the past, and this is something we want to avoid. So when we have a project at this time, I think the timing is the key.
The three-day conference gave fruitful discussions on interdependence, on gender equality as a factor for peace, on historical claims, on peaceful resolving of border disputes and much more. The presentations covered topics regarding macropolitics as well as attitudes among citizens. The scholars came from a wide range of academic disciplines.
I have not come across such a diverse group of scholars in any other conference setting. So bringing together these scholars in and of itself repeatedly is an important enterprise. And there are projects that have already taken off because of earlier meetings, which are partly supported by the program, some are not. You only have an opportunity to talk about intersecting ideas and potential projects if you actually get to meet.
Well, I think East Asia affects the world very, very much. Of course, East Asia is where most of the population of the world lives, but of course, economically as well, the fate of East Asia is very much the fate of the entire world in many ways.
Since 1979, East Asia has been a region of relative peace. But what is the quality of the East Asian peace today?
Well, I think in terms of quality of East Asian peace, I think we are doing okay. And if in comparative terms, actually, I think East Asia remains one of the most peaceful regions in the world right now, and hopefully in the years to come as well.
Peace in East Asia is underpinned by a unique period of very dynamic development. It's really, the fruits of that peace are so tangible for everybody that it is very easy to advocate for it. But this development, these dynamics cannot be taken for granted. It can come to some periods of crisis and recession. So we cannot take this peace for granted. It needs a lot of effort to sustain.
Heading in for the last year of a 6-year program, Stein Tønneson and his colleagues have gathered an abundance of knowledge that is now waiting to be published.
We are, on the basis of all the input we have got at this conference, going to edit a special volume of a journal, Global Asia. We are going to produce this film that we hope to get widely known next year. We are going to have the last conference of our program in Stockholm and Uppsala in June next year. And we are going to write a number of articles and books to get our explanations for the peace and our discussion about the depth or lack of depth of the East Asian peace through to an international audience.